Now that we've got a good start on getting these output the way we want them, let's go ahead and do the loop where we get all of the values. So this heading, we only want to do it once, so it will be outside the loop, right? We could even comment this so people don't, so people will know what we're doing here. Print out heading. We can call it report headings. Okay. And then the average, we're going to have to compute this every time. So for each combination of minutes and miles, we're going to want to compute that and print it out. So this is going to be inside the loop. So we're just going to create a for loop that goes through this, goes through the array like we've been doing, right? We want to go from 0 to less than k max size and increment. And we want all of this, that average computation and the output, to be inside this loop. So we're going to put that in there. And then we want to change these zeros. We don't want to do the first element every time. We want to do this I so that it'll change every time through that loop, right? Because I is that looping variable that changes every time we iterate through it. So we change those zeros to I. And then let's see how our report works now. Okay, we look at our report. There we go. Look, we've got all of these values, right? Okay, what do we see here? What we see here is a problem. This is how a field works. So we set this field up so it has, let's see how many it has, 16. So we said this field has 16, and then we said print the town in here. And that's what it did. It did the 16, and it printed Cottonwood Heights in there. When it got full, it just kept writing. So it says, yeah, I'll fit everything I can in the field. But if I run out of field, that's okay. I'll just keep writing. And so that's what it's doing. It's just saying, okay, just keep writing. And that becomes a problem because notice what it did. It not only made the town wider, but it shifted it out. So now when it did this field of 10, the field begins right where the last write statement left off. So the last thing that happened was that it wrote that town name. And then it set a field of 10. And where did it start? It started right where it finished. So now, instead of being lined up with the other fields of 10, it's offset. And it causes that problem all along. Because what happens? It created a field that was 16 big, and then it wrote Cottonwood Heights. And that filled up the whole field and spilled outside. And then what did it do? At the end of Cottonwood Heights, it created a field of 10, and it wrote the minutes in it. Okay, this is a problem. So if this is going to happen, we either have to make our field wider to be as big as the biggest town. That's one way to solve that. I want to show you a different way to solve it. And that is, if we have a long one, sometimes the long ones are really long and it makes our report not be the width that we want. So we can say, we're concerned about the town. So let's decide what we're going to do when we have a long town name. So let's create a town to print variable. It's going to be of type string. And if that is long, right? So and this is town's I, right? So we can ask, how long is the town? So if town's I, how do we do that? We can do it with length or size. So let's do it with length. If the length is greater than 16, then we know it won't fit in there and it'll be a problem, right? So if that's the case, then we want to change town to print to a substring, right? We just want it to be the first characters. In fact, let's say we want it to be a substring, and then we want 3 dots to indicate, oh, you didn't get the whole thing, because that in the report, that lets them know this isn't the whole name of the town, but there's more here. We'll just put dots. So we want this to be equal to the name of the town, which is town's I, but we only want a substring of it. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to just get the substring, and we can use this, it's towns. And we can use that string method, substring, that we've used before, right? And substring says where to start. Well, we want to start at the very beginning of the string. And how big do we want it to go? How big do we want the substring? Well, we don't want it to be 16. We want to leave room for the 3 dots, so let's make it 13 big. And that'll be a substring that's 13 big. No matter how big the town name is, the substring will be 13 characters long. And then we can add the ... Okay, now that's if it's long. If it's not long, so let's do an alt, then we want town to print to simply be equal to town's I. If it's not too long, then just print the whole thing. Okay, so we can just print that there. Now, what we want to do is we want to go down here, and instead of printing out town's I, let's print out the towns to print. All right, let's see how this works. In our report, now what we did is we made sure it would fit in that field, right? Because we made the substring 13 long, and then we added 3 dots, and now it fits. And so everything lines up again. That's what we want. We want everything to line up again. And we did some string manipulation to make that happen.